Hi, friends. Welcome again to Soaring Through Chaos. And the reason we do these is because there are ways in which we can support each other. It has been difficult, 5 months of lockdown in some cases, all kinds of restrictions, losing family sometimes, losing friends, or the fear of being sick, or the fear of loss of job and all that. But and all this brings in a lot of divisiveness and finger pointing. But amid all this craziness, I find that there are rays of hope. There are people who have, through their own experiences, life experiences, have helped people create meaningful environments. And one of them was Dr. Uday B. Desai, the former director of IIT Hyderabad. One of my friends from Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Raj Mashruwala, I told him that I was interested in supporting on the social and emotional learning side for my alma mater, IIT Bombay or any other college. He said, go and talk to Uday Bhai. He has started a program like that. Uday Bhai, please tell me about what you did at, or how it happened at IIT Hyderabad. That was the first place where a program was institutional or
Yeah,
put in place that helped students a lot.
yeah. Well, I would say we were not necessarily the first place. Perhaps others also had it, and I'll mention that. Maybe the mode in which we had done it was a little different. And also, I must say that the credit a lot of goes to a lot of faculty and the students who then took it up and kind of developed it on their own. Okay, so my role was more in terms of as an initiator or kind of an enabler, but as far as the whole process was concerned, they tracked it. And I always felt that when the students came to campus, they should have some people to talk to. And many times you have a faculty advisor, but the faculty advisor is not easily accessible. Also, there is a huge age difference. So certain things that the students will tell you, they may not, what they share with their peers, they may not be able to comfortable in sharing with the faculty who's 30 years older than them. Sometimes even 20, whatever 25. Occasionally, well, IIT Hyderabad was a little lucky because we are a young IIT. The difference was maybe 10 years. The average age of faculty was below 35, and the students who would come would be 17, 18, that age bracket. And some faculty were even in their 30s. So the difference was not so bad. Okay. So that way we were lucky. But nevertheless, one had to have some kind of a framework, a formal framework where students will have access and can approach. So the structure we came up was there was a faculty advisor, but we had what we call student mentors. And this, in some sense, I would say, they renamed it, which did quite well. And I would call it, they call it, the group is called Sunshine. Okay. I think this is a name which was coined by the students, and we had a counselor also. So we did hire a counselor who would, in case the student had difficulty or something, he or she could go to the counselor, spend some time, and the counselor would help them out. And if something was a little more complicated, then we would go and more challenging, then we would go and consult a senior person in the city and take his help or her help. I think this, in some sense, as I said, I can't take full credit for it. Way back when I was a student in '69, IIT Kanpur used to have something called a student guide concept. So for every 8 or 10 students, we had something like we had what you would call a student guide. So when I was a student, I had a fourth year student, or I think he was just entering fifth year, who was a student guide. And it all depended on what kind of a student guide you had. So there were 8 of us that he was quote unquote kind of mentoring. And his job was, typically he will come and talk to us. Generally, many times he will just drop by before dinner or after dinner or something. How are things? What are you doing? Okay. And they were, quite systematic in that whole thing. So for us also, if you wanted to know something or try something and not knowing how, so he was the senior person who had experience, you would approach him. Then when I was dean of students at IIT Bombay, also I implemented something similar, and we again called them student mentors out there. And of course, then other faculty members have taken it. So when I came to Hyderabad, again I implemented the same thing, saying that look, we need to have this. It's more of a support structure. I think it worked well. I'm not saying it solved all the problems. Problems are still there, and you can't quite get rid of the the problems that you have. Yeah, I got a lot of support from the students when I proposed this idea, and they said, yes, we'll take it forward. And I think it worked out very well. So we had the counselor, we had faculty advisors, and we had these so-called sunshiners. So each sunshiner would kind of be looking after, say, the 8 new freshmen who would come, the first year students, and talk to them, work with them, do things with them. Okay. I think it worked out quite well. I would not say it completely solved the problem. We still had a lot of issues and cases that would come up. Okay, but it was a good beginning. I think this is a very complex problem, and
Yeah.
my feeling is across the globe people are kind of struggling on how to manage this particular problem. Also, the problem is quite acute in a place like IITs. One of the things that I realized is, see, all the students who come to IITs are toppers in their own right. Okay, in the local environment in the schools, they were in the top bracket. Otherwise, they would not get into IIT.
Yeah.
Now, suddenly they come to IIT, and then what happens? Competing among all the toppers, and you may not land up being a topper. You may turn out in the middle of the class, or a middle third, or the bottom third, or the top third, or the top quarter, etc., etc. And it takes a while for the kid to reconcile. Okay, that look, there's an old saying, in IIT that some parents went and complained, what is this? My kid was coming always number 1 in his class, and what is it? How come he's like number 20th in, or whatever, 20 is not bad, maybe 50th in the batch and all. So the director says, pick a stone and throw it. Whichever student, the stone touches, most likely he was a topper in his class. Okay. So it's suddenly a different kind of a game, and that sometimes leads to a bit of a depression, because you have to reconcile that, look, there are a whole bunch of kids who are better than you. Okay. Also, the competition is, though everybody has come through a competitive exam, still in IIT competition is quite a bit, and that should be there. And so I think it takes a while for them to adjust. So that's why I used to always tell that, and not all IITs have done that, that in the first year, don't have a very heavy curriculum. Let it be, you can always, second and third year, you can make up for it by having a slightly heavy curriculum. In the first year, let the curriculum be a little more soft. Let the kid who has just come in, get a feel for it. Okay. And let him get the confidence that, look, he can do well even in this particular environment. Okay. I mean, and that was generally what, I think many times I would say most IITs have a fairly heavy load in the first year itself.
Yeah.
We did work very hard and reduce the load in the first year, and had certain interesting courses also. I can talk about that a little later. That's a separate part of it. But in some sense, this so having this counseling system, the sunshine system, I think did help students a lot. And I expected, it depends on who your student sunshiner was. So there were some senior students who took it very seriously. They would go meet them. And we had a small budget also for it, that you can take them out for a cup of coffee, spend some time, informal time with them, etc. My idea was that at least once a week, the senior student would go and spend about an hour with this group of 8 students, just sitting in a canteen in an area, having some tea, coffee, or maybe some samosas, and just chatting with them. Chatting about anything under the sun. It doesn't have to be that I have this problem, that problem, but it could be the weather, it could be sports, whatever it is. More so that the students have an opportunity to discuss that. Not all sunshiners did that. Some of them did that. They were quite diligent in their responsibility. Some probably took it very easy. They met maybe once a month, once in a while. And of course, the sunshiner was available for those 8 students to kind of go and talk to them anytime, day or night. That was generally the philosophy, that the student can knock on your door anytime, talk to you if something happens, etc. The hard part in this whole thing is giving the confidence to the student that you can come and knock on my door and talk about anything you want. I think that, I don't think we have been very successful. Students still a little apprehensive. Sometimes they may not talk about certain things. They may feel that, look, you may go talk to others about it, and then, all kind of, they don't want it to be made public even without their name. Because in an IIT system, sooner or later, you can kind of, join the dots together and figure out who that student is. It's not some rocket science. So I think we still need to create a system, and I think that's the key challenge is how to make the students feel comfortable that they can go and talk to a person in a very open-hearted manner and not worry about it, that eventually help will come forward. Okay, we have not reached that state, and I would make that as a broad statement, nothing to do with IIT Hyderabad. I would say across at least the IIT system, I know quite well. Okay, and I think the issues are very similar whether you are in IIT A or IIT B or IIT C. I don't think that makes a huge difference. But how do we open up students? So I've done something which I described, but I'm now talking about a problem where I've not been able to solve. It's a unique challenge that how do we make them feel comfortable? Particularly in India, unlike say maybe the Western world, there is always a stigma associated with it that you are taking, counseling or you're taking help. There's something wrong with my head or something like that,
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah. And I think the country as a whole, and in fact, IITs as a small kind of entity within the whole nation, should work hard at it to take away the stigma. There's nothing wrong in asking people for help, and this is
Yeah.
not, this is, we ask for physical help, right? If I need money, I will go ask somebody saying, hey, this is 25th of the month, I need something urgently, I have to buy a book or whatever this, or I have to pay this registration fee. Next month I'll give it back to you when I get my fellowship, scholarship, etc., etc. We ask for a lot of other help, when we are traveling, can you give me a ride, this, that. But if I'm going through a depression, if I'm very uncomfortable, if I'm not feeling, have some doubts, we don't talk to people. We feel that it is a kind of something, a weakness, a show of weakness, I think. I think we need to get out of it, that this is no different, okay, than asking for help, which is more of what you would call, some typical help for uh, uh, give me a ride to the airport, give me a ride to the railway station or a ride to the grocery store, something like that. I think somehow we need to kind of take away this heaviness which is associated with asking for help when it comes to some, some kind of depressions that we have. And maybe it was, I feel over the years it has become a little more serious. I think in the early days, perhaps the competition was there, but still not so heavy. And particularly with the millennials, I think the pressure on them is very high to succeed. So they stopped
Yeah.
talking to each other. In fact, much less about personal issues. And I think if we go back 20, 30 years, the batchmates talked a lot of things, personal issues among each other. Okay, and that kind of relieved the tensions. I'm not saying it completely solved the problem, but it did relieve it to some extent.
Yeah.
While nowadays, I'm not too sure how much the batchmates confined among each other. So that's a part. So I'll leave it at that point. Maybe I'll wait for. I've spoken for a long time. Some more questions if you have.
Well, yeah, what you're saying is completely true. There are many cultural aspects. There is a lot of stigma when it comes to mental health or even expressing vulnerability.
Yeah.
Physical need,
Yeah.
financial need, no problem. But when it comes to vulnerability, I'm feeling
Yeah.
weak, I'm not strong. Especially men are conditioned very strongly because that's considered weakness. And I know
Yeah.
that personally
Yeah.
firsthand because when I was a student in the 80s, I was feeling vulnerable. Things were not quite kosher at home, and it took me until fourth year until things were like boiling, and I couldn't even control suicidal ideation. That was the time when I opened up, and I
Yeah.
know for a fact that's the reason I
Yeah.
even approached Raj, and Raj approached you, saying Shankar is talking about something from first-hand experience,
Yeah.
and that even today when I say that, people will be like,
Right.
really? So you are hiding it? So because there's so much stigma. And now I see it happening at the national level during
Yes.
the
Yeah.
pandemic. During the pandemic,
Yeah.
again, men are the one who are
Yeah.
suppressing all their feelings of vulnerability, whether it's the family members' health or happiness, or it's the financials. There's so much stigma of losing a job, even, right? So, what do you think is happening? Do you have
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
suggestions on how changing culture is not easy at all, but you were to a certain extent
Yes.
successful in changing it at IIT Hyderabad. You, as in your team. So from the lessons learned, could you
Yeah,
suggest
yeah, I
something
would
that
say
could
yes.
help?
Yeah, to some small extent, yes, we were able to change it. Like I used to talk, we have. I think by the time I left, I think we had three counselors. Okay, two women and one men. Because sometimes the men felt a little different when they went and talked to a woman counselor. So
Yeah.
initially we had two women counselors, and I think that made a difference in the sense that what I was talking to them is yes, kids do come forward now and talk to them. So there are students, and I think things have changed now. What I did was to avoid this kind of a stigma thing. I actually had the counselors give an office in the hostel area. So the idea being that students, while just going for lunch or something can drop by, faculty need not know that the student is meeting them. Because many a time they are okay if their friends find out, they can somehow cover up, but they feel a little more, it's like we are very, kids are very tentative in terms of talking about the mental health problems with their parents. They don't want to do that. So,
True.
but with their friends, if they find out also, they are not so worried. So I said, look, you should sit out there and not in the main in the academic area. Otherwise, the fellow has to come all the way from the hostel. Also, I thought accessibility. Many a times, you are tempted. Should I go or not go? Should I not go? And if I have to travel all the way from the hostel to the academic area to meet the counselor, it is unlikely I will take that journey. But if it is along the way, because we have a big mess, it's a common mess for everybody, what we call a dining hall. We don't have dining halls in each hostel. It's a common dining. So anybody while going to the dining hall, I may just sort of sneak out and say, okay, let me just spend half an hour or 15 minutes with the counselor and just find out what I should do. So it's like something is on the way. You are likely to stop by and browse and see what is happening. On the other hand, so I think that way it's very important also. Not just having counselors, but how accessible and where they are. So in a sense, the accessibility should be such that the student, nobody should notice when the student is entering and when the student is leaving. Because if they see, so I think I did try that and keeping it in the hostel area, because I said, it should be part of their home area rather than being in an academic area. Like in many places, you have the admin building and the counselor will have an office in admin. Now,
Mhm.
admin building, how many students want to go to the admin building? You have the director sitting there, you have all the deputy director, deans, everybody out there. So all the authorities out there. And the last thing a student wants to do is to approach the authority. Okay. So if you're going across, and somebody will ask you, hey, why are you going there? What happened? Are you okay? Now, this is the last thing you want to encounter. You will run away because of that. So this worked well, but from what I understand, I think currently things have changed, and maybe the counselors are sitting in the sort of a different area. I don't know where they are exactly. Yeah. So I try to do a lot of such things. Keep it close to the student area, so they don't have to kind of walk far away to get their whole thing done. Okay. So,
So
but I
Professor
think
Desai,
getting sure. Please go ahead.
yeah, in addition to what you did in the like social and
Uh-huh.
emotional area, I
Yeah.
remember a few years later reading about IIT Hyderabad, how its ranking went up. It wasn't just academic. There were many things that you had institutionalized. Was it the incubator or something like that? But really changed people's view of education itself. Students started seeing
Yeah.
education in a different light.
Yeah, that's a little longer talk. I mean, I can talk about it. And see, we modified the education system, and this was a long and a deliberate exercise that we took up with inputs from both faculty and students.
Uh-huh.
And it's not easy to change something which was permanently there. It took some time. So we came up with this system called fractal academics, and there were several things. So we tried to modularize the courses. I mean, I felt that it is not necessary all the time to have this so-called 3 credit course that they have. Like, I'm looking at the US credit system. IITs are sometimes different. Some IITs, the same course has 6 credits in one IIT, some other IIT it has 9 credits or something like that. So they have some different ways of kind of giving this number. I just went by contact hours. So when I say a 3 credit course, it means 3 contact hours. Okay, that would be 42 hours per week. And I said, look, if you want to introduce some exciting material in the first semester, okay, where we want to get the kids excited about, students excited about what is happening in the world, particularly in the technological world, I think we need not wait till the fourth semester, sorry, fourth year. which is the sixth, seventh semester or third year, something like that, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth semester. That's when the exciting things coming up. I said some exciting things can be imparted even in the first year, even though they don't know the fundamentals out there. So that was one part. That was also based on a lot of comments I used to receive, particularly in IIT Bombay when I was there. That, sir, we are very good at physics, chemistry, math. That's why we cracked JEE. That's why we are out here.
Yeah.
And in the first year, again, we are taught physics, chemistry, math. It's like the same thing is kind of repeated. And I used to have discussions with my colleagues in physics and chemistry and math department. They say, yeah, but they don't know the fundamentals. Obviously, they know how to crack JEE problems, but they don't understand the basics, the fundamentals, etc., etc. And what used to happen is in the process, we would lose a lot of students. Lose in the sense they would lose interest in studying, because it's the same thing which is taught to them, fine, with a little more rigor. And I remember students coming and saying, sir, I came here to study electronics. 1 year has gone by. Where is electronics? I came here to study, telephony, cellular telephony, communication, various communication, I mean, a whole year has gone by. Okay. And then I realized, no, we need to actually give these things early, and more so now, because when I compare with myself, when I went to Kanpur in '69, I was not quite aware of the technological scenario in the world. Whatever my teachers told me was it. Today, the kids are more aware of latest technological development than even professors.
Yes.
And they are sometimes users of it. They use certain things which a professor probably will not use. It happened to me also. I can give examples of that. So I said, they are aware of it, and we are kind of now putting them on hold. That, you are aware, we know it, but we will talk about it 2 years from now. I don't think it works. So what we did was, by modularizing, we were able to create courses in the first semester, typically of 1 credit. So there were totally only 15 credits in that semester. That is, per week, there were only 15 contact hours. We didn't want to load them with 17, 18, 20 contact hours. And if you look at the courses, for example, I'll just talk about the exciting one. We had a course, 1 credit course on drones. Okay. Nice. So where the idea was that we just buy a whole bunch of kits, students are in groups of 3, and they now put things together, write some software for the flight controller and fly the drones. Because drones were something, this started about 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I think, because drones were becoming popular. So I said, everybody knows about drones. Let them play with the drones when they come. But I'm a big believer in saying that you need to create an environment where kids play with technology, and not simply having a fully structured education where you sit in the class, listen to the professor, and then write answers and take notes and things like that. So then we had a course, for example, on signal processing and communication. And what happened in such courses, because such certain things today are all pervasive. Like as an example, if you look at FFT, a civil engineer uses FFT, a mechanical engineer uses it, of course, EE and CS use it a lot more, but they are users. They don't want to get into the theory behind it. So in a 1 credit course, you are simply exposing to these tools and giving some perspective on it. So suddenly we found that certain courses, we had a much larger audience now from other departments, which otherwise we would not have. Okay. So drones, then we started a course, because I said to students, I'm a faculty, that look, people are talking about genetic engineering. Kids are learning about it. They know what is happening. They know that something is being cloned. Can we just have an exposure course on genetic engineering? So I think we had a course on bioengineering or something like that in the very first semester. And I think that worked out quite well. Then there were other such courses. We had, this is a unique thing we started, became a grand success, a course on 3D printing. Typically, if you go to even American universities or even any of the IITs, if at all they have, you learn about 3D printing in 4th year. Maybe if you're lucky, first semester, otherwise second semester. And 4th year, second semester, even first semester, you are thinking of getting out of IIT, like you're looking for whatever, business school exam, GMAT, GRE, CAT, whatever it is, applying abroad, applying for jobs. Half your time is all going in there. So the exciting material in 4th year is not really creating the excitement that you had intended to, and you get disappointed. So we said, why not have a course? So it was a 2 credit course. So 1 credit would correspond to 14 hours, 2 credit would be 28 hours. Now, 14 hours doesn't mean that you do 14 hours in lump model. So 28 hours, but spread across the whole semester. And we bought a lot of 3D printers, I think about 10 or 12 of them. They would actually build things, 3D printed objects, maybe a small house or some gears which are going interlocking gears, which otherwise would take a long time to do it on a lathe machine or something like that. And here they could do it more interestingly. So all kinds of things they did, and we left it to them. That is, you decide what you want to do. Okay, there was a professor out there who will help them out. So that became a grand success. Kids were really happy that, hey, they have heard of 3D printing, they have read about it, they have seen it in magazines and websites, and now they're actually doing 3D printing.
Wow.
Okay. I think it became a grand success. So I think there were then other courses we started again to lighten the kind of heavy, we didn't want to get too many equations and heavy duty math and other things into it. We had a course called Independent Project. And the idea was the student will decide what the project, again, a 1 credit course. We gave a little bit of money. So it was a team of 2 or 3, not a big sum. We gave, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 rupees to buy some components that are required to build. And so you have to build something. You decide what you want to build. We are not going to tell you. You pick the topic. And in principle, there is no formal guide. Any faculty member's door you can knock in the institute and ask him for help. So if you have some aerodynamic problem, you can talk to an aerospace guy. If you have electronics problem, you talk to electronics faculty. So no one faculty. And what I thought was quite interesting is that they had the freedom to work on this all along. And the examination was a demo, and that too held on 26 January. I thought 26 January function was getting to be a usual thing, flag hoisting speeches, some patriotic songs, some patriotic plays. After that, we would have this project display. Okay, and a few faculty member would go around and they would then judge the project and give marks, and that's it. That would be the final grade. There was no other exam. So the faculty member could just stand there and have an oral thing. Why did you do this? How did you do this, etc. And based on that, he will give some, whatever, out of 100, he'll give 70, 80, etc. And then we would do the curve fitting and give them A's, B's, C's. Typically, the grades was not very, very stringent, unlike a conventional course on, say, maybe thermodynamics or electronic circuits and things like that, when you were in IIT Bombay.
Yeah, yeah.
So that again kind of eased up because, some students actually spend their own money. So we gave them 3,000. I think they managed to put money together, spend another 10,000 to buy all kinds of motors and, gyros, this, that, to actually do the thing. Because we said our budget is fixed, it will be same for everyone. I think that worked quite well. At least when I was there, I think there was a lot of excitement. Like I remember students kind of pulling me, sir, come and see my project, sir, come and see my project. I would also be there after the usual speech, but often you get kind of held up by administrative duties. But then I would go and walk around, and spend time because many of them would keep calling me, So I think it worked out well. So the idea was, one is, as you said correctly, counseling part, but the second is we need to restructure academics so that, it becomes a fun thing to do.
Yes, yes.
So today, essentially learning or academics has become more of a drudgery. I think we need to now restructure it and make it a joyful experience. Okay, and one way to do it is to create a lot more hands-on things. Maybe a little softer on grading. I mean, I don't think heavens are for. I mean, I've seen people who are 6.5 have been equally successful as people who are 9.0 once you graduate. It is not necessarily the guy who has 9.0 is much more successful than the guy who had 6.5. Okay, so life has a way of kind of flattening out all these grades that we got in IIT. Okay, so that way it worked out quite well.
Very true.
So I think but things keep dynamically changing it. So one other thing which I have been advocating now, and I advocate even for school education. So I give talks on education, and even IITs. We all talk about a maker lab, tinkerer's lab. Like IIT Bombay has one, we have one, etc. But I said now what we need is a breaker lab. So you need to have a lab where the kids can break things. See, we don't allow that in India. In US, people do that because every household garage is almost like a workshop. So US kids are used to fixing things. Here we don't learn fixing, and the way you learn fixing is by breaking things. So, and I learned this little bit from Japan. At the University of Tokyo, a colleague of mine was there. because he's also retired now. So he
Mhm.
said we would every year go and buy things from Akihabara, a refrigerator, a washing machine, a computer, cameras, all kinds of gadgets. Long face, everybody says, yeah, yeah, we are equally productive. Things that we thought we'll have a elliptical or ellipse-based round table, not a round table, but a elliptical table. Maybe 8 students sit around it or 6 students sit around it. There is a small gap in a small opening in the ellipse, so the professor can enter, stand in the middle and chat with them. Okay, and the whole idea is that there are such ellipses, in the hall. Okay, and if there are 10 of them, then you have a class of 80, say 8%. Yes, it is not space efficient. Agreed. And what happens? A professor, for example, or a teacher will talk only for 10 minutes and then give a small problem to them. Now they will discuss among themselves then and there what to do, how to do, because 8 of them are together. And then the professor could ask one of the groups, okay, you make a presentation on what I talked about. And everything can be wirelessly connected. So if they want, they can immediately connect their laptop to the projector and project whatever they had discussed and decided. And as you were saying, I think, somebody else was mentioning about tablets and all. You can even draw on the screen, okay, and say, this is what it is, or write on the screen, this is how we are looking at things, etc. So suddenly make the thing, more interactive rather than being only a monologue kind of a classroom, where typically I would lecture for about 45 minutes and they say, okay, any questions in the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes, things like that. So it could be that you talk about a small problem, small issues, some open thing. Let them discuss, play with it, and come back. So I thought that may change the discourse that we have in a classroom, but I couldn't implement it, and right now maybe it is on hold. Yeah.
Well, Professor Desai, I've always seen that you're ahead of the curve and thinking out of the box, thinking way beyond what is being
Yeah.
done now.
Yeah.
And that definitely
Yeah.
IIT Hyderabad benefited tremendously from it. And in fact, more and more, like for example, when I do a workshop, I invite everybody in the room. I do workshops on leadership and creativity. I invite them to bring out their creative elements because it's like if I were to say like मैं कौन होता हूँ आपको बताने वाला? Who am I to tell you how to be creative?
Correct.
But we can all learn from each
Correct.
other. And I've seen those
Absolutely.
experiments,
Yeah.
very innovative
Yeah.
experiments done by people like you.
Yeah.
And it really
Yeah.
gives me
Yeah.
joy that there is hope for changing the education system to
Yeah.
be more real life, collaborative. Do you have any other suggestions for people? I mean, I know,
I think what I have is, see, the older the institute gets, it becomes difficult to change. I think the same thing will
yes.
happen to IIT Hyderabad. In the first 10 years, we were very dynamic because everything was fresh. We tried a lot of things, but I can already see a certain, now a set pattern in some sense, and the rate of change is already going down. Okay, now if you look at older IITs, it's much more, and I coined a phrase called, that eventually institutions suffer from academic arthritis. You don't move, and even if someone gives you enough reasons, you find enough reasons to say, no, my knee joints are not that great. I cannot jog now, I cannot run now. Okay, let somebody else do it. And I can see that. And the problem is that we are not risk taking. We want foolproof solutions or fail-proof solutions. Life doesn't consist of fail-proof solutions. And particularly IITs are fortunate that if we try something, if it doesn't work, we can always go back. There's nothing which forces you to say that you must continue once you have started. You can always do a sort of mid-path correction. There's no problem with that. So if we can create that culture among the IITs in terms of experimentation, in terms of doing something different, and really out of the box. I'm not talking about incremental and cosmetic changes. As I say, idhar ka maal, udhar ka maal, idhar. Not that way. Something really substantial, and let that happen. We are also, as institutes get older, you get into this more culture of approvals. The processes then take over rather than what actually you have to do. And I think IIT should not necessarily get too carried away with process. Obviously, some people will violate the process, and that will happen anyway. Even if you have the best of systems in place, you can't avoid that. Okay, so that's how I would sort of put it in. that we need to change, we need to think, also we need to encourage, thinking out of the box. Consequently, we should be encourage in some sense failures. Sound a little contradictory in encouraging failures, but I think there is no harm in encouraging failures. Maybe the stigma of failures will go out, because in life we always fail more often than we succeed. Okay. And in the process, interesting things, new things will come up.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I remember something that I learned in my early college days, which is the art, creating new science is an art. It's not like
Yes,
A plus B leads to C, because that is already known. It's much more
exactly.
complex, much more nonlinear and unpredictable. So tinkering,
Yes,
changing things,
yeah,
breaking
yeah.
things, reformulating is so important. And I'm glad that there are educators like
Yeah.
you who are already making it's hard to institutionalize unpredictability. And I think that's what you're referring to when
But that's
things
what we
get more
need to do.
structured.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. In fact, I used that in my Senate meetings. I said the system should have a built-in instability. I said,
That's
if you
true.
become too stable, you will not do anything. You're very happy. Okay. It's only when you go through a storm, you start improvising. Otherwise, smooth sailing, calm seas, you can play your golf on the deck if you want, whatever, that small netted golf, and be relaxed. But you need
Yeah.
that. So I said there has to be built-in, or the word that you use, there has to be a built-in unpredictability in the system.
And today the
Predictable. In fact, yeah,
pandemic
pandemic is
is
a good
providing that,
unpredictability.
but some of
Yeah,
us have been able to use,
but
as you
it's
said, the
not
artists.
constructive. I think, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
some of the
Artist, yeah.
artists have
So
been
it's
able
not
to
right.
do art.
Yeah,
Some of the social
yeah,
workers, they are
yeah.
forced. I
Correct.
mean, there's
Yeah,
no choice.
yeah,
Medical doctors have been forced to innovate.
yeah.
Some biomedical
I,
engineers,
in fact,
not
there is
all.
a theory of advocating unpredictably, because if you look at Shannon, you must have heard of Shannon.
Of course,
The
Shannon
fundamental,
scale.
very simplistic manner, if you put Shannon, is saying that the amount of information that you have in any content is determined by the degree of unpredictability. So as you
That's
said, A
true.
plus B equals C, or 2 plus 2 equals 4 has zero information.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But on the other hand, when things are little nebulous, it has a lot more information content. So I think we are too hung up on making things very structured. That's what I meant by saying. Keep
Yes,
things nebulous. Let the kids have the joy of unraveling the mysteries, and give them that freedom to unravel the mysteries of science, mysteries of technology, various other things. I think we are. My gut feeling is that it was a little more. US is still better at it. I think in India, maybe because of the scale, because of various other things, sometimes I think too much regulation, not in IITs, but in various colleges, the regulators have become too strong.
strict.
Why?
Yeah,
Because a few of them default. So then everybody suffers in following a set pattern. I
true.
think we need to create the same things that you were mentioning: unpredictability, instability, etc. And let that be part of the system. So we really need to institutionalize some of these things, which typically are not at all part of an institutionalized system. Yeah. Mm.
In fact, few have experimented. I don't know if that will come to India or not. At Stanford, they experimented with not giving grades for a long time because they felt the pressure of
Yes.
the grades
Yeah.
or the marks, makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
Students have to
I agree.
pander to making
Yeah.
sure that they get the good
Yeah.
grades. Um,
Yeah.
Eventually, they had to let go, and I think they started grading again because again there
So
was
what
so
was
much
the
pressure.
reason? What was the? And I like this idea. I can give experiment that I tried, but I think I like this idea. So I was just wondering, why did they again go back to the grades?
I
And
think
I would love to know that as to what happened at Stanford. This was
if
a
I
terrific.
if I remember correctly, graduate schools started mumbling, if you don't give grades to undergrads, how do we know who is the best and all that stuff? But again,
That way.
yeah, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But again, I felt, although I didn't even understand this non-grading system. Eventually, when I started teaching, I was a visiting faculty at many places. I would tell
Yeah.
students that you can
Uh-huh.
get an A minus without even trying hard, but to get a bad grade or a good grade, you have to try hard. In other words, yes, if you put in
Very hard, which is
extraordinary
true.
effort, we will reward you.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
extraordinarily don't do
Correct.
anything, you will get punished.
Yeah.
For the
You get a
most
bad
part,
grade. Yeah.
just tinker around, have fun. The fun
Yeah.
element is what is reduced. Well, I'm
Yeah.
so
No,
glad
no,
I got a chance to talk to you. Yeah.
yeah.
Please
Great.
continue.
Yeah. No, I'm happy at least we got a chance to at least interact over the web and share some of our thoughts. And I think looks like there is a lot of commonality and parallelism in our, I mean, convergence
Yeah.
in our talk, which is
And I'm
in a
so
thought.
glad that there are educators like you who have been able to bring
Thank you.
about change in very institutional, these are the highest institutions in the nation and among the highest institutions in the world. So the expectations are much higher also, and the pressure must be high too. That you were able to make changes,
Sure.
that you were able to
Yeah.
experiment, at least in the early days of IIT Hyderabad. And I'm hoping that you will be
Sure.
able to
Yeah.
use that to educate many more institutions as you
Hopefully.
go around.
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
please stay in
Thank
touch.
you. Yeah.
And if people have
Yes,
questions, is
definitely.
there a way in which
Definitely.
they can
Yeah.
reach you? Is there any
Yeah,
website
yeah,
or?
they can send me an email or something. Sure, no problem with that. Yeah, we
Okay,
can do it.
great,
Yeah,
great. I'll make
great.
sure that
Okay,
people can
sure,
find you if they have any questions.
sure.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot,
okay.
Dr. Desai. I'm so
Thanks,
looking forward to meeting you
Okay.
again after the
Yeah, yeah.
pandemic. It's harder right
Yes,
now.
yes, that's so. Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah. Okay.